Hello everyone, it's week 4 of the NFL football season, and that means it's time to make our picks. Last week there were 16 games on, and I picked all 16, and out of those 16 I got 9 out of 7. That leaves me 23 and 25 on the season. A lot of interesting games last week. First one on Thursday night, which was the Texans and Patriots, where the Patriots can just do it with a third-string quarterback, I guess, because I picked the Texans, didn't think they were going to be able to do it, but I underestimated their third-string quarterback, and they pulled it off. The Vikings pull off another upset against a very good team of the Carolina Panthers. They beat the Packers last week, and then they beat the Panthers without Adrian Peterson or Teddy Bridgewater. And one game that everyone seemed to look at and post up online was the Chiefs and the Jets, where Fitzpatrick threw 6 interceptions. Probably should have sat him a little bit earlier, so he would have made all those mistakes. Good week for fantasy owners if you had the Chiefs defense, as from what I've seen, they scored over 35 points. And the Eagles doing great as they beat the Steelers, who I thought were going to beat the Eagles last week, in an absolute blowout, with Carson Wentz performing very well. Prescott and Elliott were the MVPs on this Sunday night game, as Prescott got a rushing touchdown and finally threw his first passing touchdown, and didn't throw any interceptions. He's been doing very well. And Ezekiel Elliott also did very well with 140 yards and over 30 carries. Alright, time to make the picks. First game on Thursday night, the Bengals go up against the Dolphins. Now, I had a hard time figuring out who I thought would win this game. They both are 1-2. They both need this win to keep it going in their division. I really believe the Dolphins can pull it off. I know the Cincinnati Bengals defense is very good. I believe they will cause a lot of trouble for Ryan Tannehill, but Tannehill is doing very well. So I do see him putting up big numbers, and I believe the Dolphins pull it off in a close one. 27-24. The next game, the Colts and the Jaguars. The Colts did excellent last week as they beat the Chargers 26-22, with T.Y. Hilton getting a large amount for his team, and Frank Gore also doing very well. I see Andrew Luck and Frank Gore being the two top ones if you want to have them, or if you do have them on your fantasy team, I would start them this week because they are going against the Jaguars, and the Jags are, of course, struggling as they have always been for years before. As for the Panthers and the Falcons, I see the Panthers taking it on this one, even though it was a very tough one to pick. I believe they both have a lot of strengths. The Falcons won by a lot last week, getting 45 points. Panthers actually didn't do that well. They got beaten by the Vikings. But I kind of think, the Vikings are becoming a top team right now. So I actually believe the Panthers will pull it off against the Falcons. Raiders and Ravens, another one that was hard for me to pick. The Raiders have actually been doing very well. The Ravens are undefeated. I was going to pick the Raiders because they have been doing excellent. They beat the Saints, but the Saints are also struggling the last 3 weeks. I believe the Ravens will take it this one, and they will go 4-0. Lions and the Bears. This one wasn't too tough for me. I believe the Lions will win. Lions are bringing up big numbers against all their teams, even though they haven't won all of them. I believe they will beat the Bears, as the Bears are struggling on defense, especially with last week giving the Cowboys 31 points and only scoring 17 themselves with their quarterback troubles that they have. Fantasy-wise, I believe you should start Matthew Stafford if he is one of your quarterbacks, and Marvin Jones, who has 5 touchdowns on the season and over 400 yards. I think you should give it to him. For the Titans and Texans, I would have said start your defense for the Texans this week, but one of their major players, J.J. Watt, is out, as he does put up big numbers for the Texans just all by himself. So I would probably sit the Texans defense. However, I believe the Texans offense, even though they got a whopping 0 points last week against the Patriots, I don't see them doing that again. and I see the Texans taking it. It will be a close one though. Bills and Patriots isn't really a hard one for me to pick, as I believe the Patriots will win. They've been winning every week without Tom Brady and then Jimmy Garoppolo. LeGarrette Blount, he is one I would pick to start in my fantasy team. He got 2 touchdowns last week and did exceptionally well over the last 3 weeks. But last week showed that he really is their top running back, and they're gonna keep feeding him the ball. So I don't believe that's gonna stop this week. Seahawks and Jets. Seahawks. This one, easy one for me. Fitzpatrick, horrible day last week against the Chiefs, throwing 6 interceptions. Just sit him. I believe he'll do a lot better than last week. It's hard to throw 6 interceptions 2 weeks in a row. So I believe he might throw a couple touchdowns and maybe a couple picks. But I see the Seahawks taking this one as their defense. I believe the Seattle defense matches that of Kansas City's, and I see the Seattle defense they're probably going to be the one winning this game. But I believe the offense will also do very well. Seahawks take it. It's going to be a blowout. Browns and Redskins. Redskins did great last week playing against the Giants, winning 29-27. But I believe the Browns will pull it off, even though what Terrell Pryor said, they're going to win out. I don't see that happening, but I do see them winning this week. Broncos and Buccaneers, that's not a hard one. The Broncos are their defense is probably the best in the league right now. I believe they're actually better than all the defenses in the NFL. Chiefs being the next one, then Seahawks. But man, the Broncos defense have just been winning their games. Last year they did that. This year they're doing it again. Their defense can't be stopped. Buccaneers, even though they put up a good amount of points every single week, it's not going to happen this week. And I also believe C.J. Anderson will be able to put up big numbers as the running back. So if you want to start him, I do that. Same with the Broncos defense. Next game for the Rams and Cardinals. I see the Cardinals taking this one. The Rams have just been struggling every week. I know they got a win against Seattle, but the Cardinals they got embarrassed last week by the Bills. So I see the Cardinals coming back, putting up big numbers. The running back David Johnson will do well. Hopefully he puts up a couple touchdowns because he's on my fantasy team. But I would start him against the Rams defense as they're not doing that well. Saints and Chargers. Both teams are struggling. Chargers seem to be losing a player a week as they've lost 3 of them. Their running back, their wide receiver, and their middle linebacker. 3 weeks in a row with major injuries. I see the Chargers winning this game, but I say it's going to be high scoring as both defenses are struggling, as was shown last week with the Chargers just letting T.Y. Hilton get over 140 yards. The Saints gave up 45 points against the Falcons. It's going to be a close but very high scoring game, but I think Philip Rivers will take this one. For the Cowboys and 49ers, 49ers have struggled tremendously, especially at their quarterback position and defensively, especially last week. It kind of seems like they're on and off defensively, so I would definitely not start them against Cowboys offense that was putting up a score every single drive except for, I think, the second half where they had to punt or they fumbled it. Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott are hot right now, even though I'm not sure about Dez, because Dez does have an injury. From what I heard, he has a hairline fracture in his knee. It's kind of, from what Jason Garrett said, it's day to day. So I probably wouldn't necessarily start him until you hear for sure that he's going to be in there. Because somehow with the hairline fracture, he was able to score a touchdown. Very tough. End result, I say the Cowboys are going to win this. I would start Cole Beasley because he seems to be Dak Prescott's favorite target as he goes to him several times a game. He almost got his first touchdown. If you're going to start anybody on the Dallas team, I would say Ezekiel Elliott and Cole Beasley. Chiefs and Steelers. The Chiefs defense showed that they are very powerful. The Steelers, however, have a better offense. Even though they got blown out last week, they didn't really commit that many turnovers. So I say the Steelers are going to beat the Chiefs this week. It's going to be a I say it's going to be very close, very defensive, but I believe Ben Roethlisberger will get it to Antonio Brown at least once in this game. And for the last game, Vikings and Giants, the Vikings defense was amazing last week, okay? They're actually in the top 5 defenses right now, scoring over 20 points fantasy-wise. Their special teams returned it for a touchdown. They put up several sacks, a few interceptions. I also believe they've taken it back to the house on those interceptions a few times. So I'm going to say the Vikings do. I'm going ahead and say the Vikings win this one. I don't think it's going to be a close one. Eli struggled tremendously last week. I know they're angry they lost last week, but Manning threw 2 interceptions, 2 critical ones. I see that happening against the Vikings, who don't even have their starting running back or starting quarterback. Well, their starting quarterback is now Sam Bradford. He's doing very well. I see that happening again. I believe he'll tear up the Giants defense. I'd like to thank all of those who are watching this. I really appreciate it. If you haven't, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave any comments below on what you think about my picks. If you think I suck, try to keep it light on the hate. But I'm doing my best every week making these picks. Thank you very much. You guys take care, and I'll see you next week.